Live from downtown Bakersfield, 23 ABC News Midday starts now.
Good morning and thanks for joining us for this special digital edition of 23 ABC News at 11 a.m. I'm Danielle Kernkamp. It's the case that's been 6 years in the making and it's now in the home stretch. Right now, the prosecution in the Leslie Chance murder trial is giving its closing arguments. Court resumed just before 9:30 this morning with Judge Charles Bremer going over the ground rules for the jury ahead of the prosecution's closing arguments. The prosecution has shown a timeline of events connected to the death of Todd Chance as they make their final arguments, trying to prove that Leslie Chance killed her husband. The defense will follow the prosecution with its rebuttal. We're currently live tweeting these closing arguments. You can follow along with the hashtag #ChanceTrial. We have a full recap on the closing arguments tonight at 5. Today, the Centers for Disease Control is expected to announce the first case of coronavirus in the United States, according to multiple media outlets. The New York Times is reporting a person in Washington state is the first confirmed case of the deadly virus in the U.S. The mysterious respiratory infection has killed at least 6 people and sickened hundreds more in Asia. The patient was hospitalized with pneumonia last week after traveling to China, where the outbreak appears to have started, according to federal officials. The Times also reports the news of this first case in the U.S. comes amid growing evidence that the virus spreads from person to person. Let's take a break, bring in Chief Meteorologist Elena Rusk and see what's in store for us on the rest of this Tuesday.
Yeah, we had some showers from yesterday into the overnight hours. Those have pushed out. You can see well into Arizona and New Mexico at this hour. We also have a system that's pushing onshore to our north, so it's bringing some rain and snow to Northern California. This far south, looking to be some passing clouds and some breezes. So we're at 58 here in Bakersfield right now. That's above, excuse my coughing, our average high for this time of year. So we're going to keep on warming to the 60s this afternoon. It's still 30 at the top of Breckenridge, though. So as the day goes on, expect some 40s in the South Mountains, mostly 50s for everybody else. There's that 60 in Bakersfield.
The investigation continues into a hit-and-run crash in central Bakersfield that left 4 teenagers with major injuries. The California Highway Patrol says just before 10 a.m. on Monday, a Chevy Cobalt and a Honda were heading west on Highway 178 near Union Avenue at the same time. CHP says the Honda tried to switch lanes but sideswiped the Cobalt, causing it to drive off the road, down an embankment, and into a tree. The 4 teens were all between 15 and 17 years old. They were taken to Kern Medical with major injuries. CHP says the 16-year-old was not wearing a seatbelt. The driver of the Honda left the scene, and there's no further description of the car. Tonight, a community meeting to discuss street racing in Southwest Bakersfield will be held at Independence High School. 23 ABC's Danielle Garrido has more on why the Bakersfield Police Department is holding these.
Last week, the Bakersfield Police Department held a virtual forum on its Facebook page to talk about street racing in the city.
Over the last couple of years, we get almost 5,000 calls per year regarding street racing. So it is a citywide issue.
Over 200 people commented on the Facebook video, many raising concerns for their neighborhood areas.
At the Coles on Gosford, the soccer park out at Ash and Taft Highway, the Fala's discount store at White Lane and Hughes. Those are just a representation of some of the locations that we do enforcement operations at.
In November, a deadly crash involving street racing happened in Councilmember Chris Parlier's ward. A 57-year-old woman was killed after being hit by a driver reportedly going 133 miles per hour.
We had a tragedy that happened within our community, and it really brought this to light as far as, illegal racing, the problems with it. I know that behind the scenes, the police department had been working on this ahead of time.
The BPD wants to make sure this doesn't happen again by reminding the community of the consequences of street racing through their community forums.
Correct me if I'm wrong, both exhibition of speed as well as reckless driving are an automatic 30-day impound. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. There are certain criteria for it, but most of the things which we're talking about are those 2 sections. Your car is automatically going to be impounded for 30 days, which creates the expense of just your car getting it out, and plus the expense of the fines as well.
An aider and abettor can be guilty under this vehicle code section as well. An aider and abettor is essentially someone who just intentionally means to help or encourage somebody engaged in a speed contest.
And that the enforcement periods are just a small part of their efforts.
And that was 23 ABC's Daniela Garrido reporting. The community of McFarland is invited to give their input on a private prison company that may expand the amount of immigrant detainees in Kern County. The McFarland Planning Commission will meet today to hear public comments on proposed changes to permits. Geo Group, which runs the Mesa Verde Ice Processing Center in Bakersfield, has requested amending the permits for its Golden State and Central Valley facilities to be repurposed to house federal inmates and detainees. A presentation on the proposed changes will be heard at today's meeting at 6 p.m. at the City Council chambers. And City Council is continuing discussions about a possible location for its low-barrier homeless shelter. Council members and the community will discuss the Calcott location during tomorrow's meeting. They'll decide whether to go with Calcott or with one of the other options presented to address homelessness. City Council recently passed a resolution in response to last year's point-in-time count showing nearly 650 unsheltered homeless people in the county. The resolution also declared a shelter crisis within the city. That meeting is set for tomorrow at 5:15 p.m. And a reminder, this Friday, the Homeless Collaborative will be out conducting its annual census, trying to find out how many people are living on the streets. Last week, more than 100 volunteers gathered at the Mission at Kern County for a training session to prepare for the count. The Homeless Collaborative went over guidelines with volunteers, highlighting the appropriate procedures and practices required. The count will take place this Friday from 3:30 to 10:30 a.m. throughout the county. It will determine the type of services needed for homeless programs and funding provided by the federal government. More than 600 people are expected to volunteer for this year's point-in-time count. A special event is being held at CSUB for a select group of people. Next week, there will be free legal immigration services on campus. Attorneys and paralegals are available to provide legal consultations to immigrants, asylum seekers, and refugees. The services will be offered in the Dreamers Resource Center on January 28th and 29th by appointment only. We have a link on our website, turnto23.com, where you can make an appointment. It turns out the world's strongest firefighter is from right here in Kern County. 23 ABC's Alyssa Flores introduces us to Ben Gallagher.
In an emergency, we rely on the strength of first responders to save the day. And it just so happens one of Kern County's very own KCFD fire engineer Ben Gallagher has won the title of World's Strongest Firefighter.
I'm the world's strongest firefighter, 2020.
Gallagher took part in a competition put on by someone who knows a thing or two about strength. Former Mr. Universe, best known for playing the role of Terminator, who eventually became the Governor of California. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Firefighters at the Arnold Strongman Classic went head-to-head for the purpose of helping men and women who demonstrate physical and emotional strength on the job every day.
He put this on for the firefighters to be able to give back to the communities and give back to the firefighters whose families were affected, who were injured or killed in the line of duty. I mean, it means the world to us as firefighters to have someone like Arnold think that's important.
Having competed in several CrossFit and lifting competitions before, Gallagher was already familiar with balancing the physical demands of the job with the preparation of a competition.
Train the events 3 days a week as hard as I could, and then I would kind of do some technique work on a fourth day.
But he says he's never trained for something quite like this. 9 competitors from all over the country and even the world put their muscle to the test in different strength skills that firefighters experience in real-life situations, earning points for how they ranked in each event along the way.
We had a 200-pound sandbag carry as one of the events, so you pick it up and you carry it for as long as you can possibly carry it for. You know, we end up in situations all the time. You hear about firemen's carrying people, and that's what that is.
Gallagher says it was a close contest.
There's some really strong competitors.
But the encouragement and energy helped him power through.
The atmosphere was unreal. A couple thousand cheering fans. The governor is like sitting 2 feet away from you, cheering you on. And then the competitors too, the people I competed against, we're cheering for each other.
Schwarzenegger himself awarded Gallagher with the Golden Axe, medal, and the title of World's Strongest Firefighter.
I've been having a hard time putting into words ever since then. I don't know how to top it. I think that's it.
So will Gallagher be back up for the challenge next year?
Well, first of all, I got to defend the title. And secondly, I mean, we raised over $100,000 for charity with this event. I'll absolutely do that again.
And that was 23 ABC's Alyssa Flores reporting. Gallagher says his wife is actually a week out from her due date, so the possibility of a baby on the way any minute was definitely on his mind. But he's hoping next year that baby boy will be able to watch him defend the title. School kids are surrounded by countless books in the classroom, but for many, that's not the case when they go home at the end of the day. Here at 23 ABC, we're on a mission to change that. The Kern Literacy Council says many children attending low-income schools in the county don't have a single book at home. Last fall, our parent company, Scripps, hosted the annual If You Give a Child a Book campaign, and 23 ABC employees donated thousands from our paychecks to buy hundreds of books for a local school. This Thursday, it's time to give back. We're visiting one local school for this giveaway, complete with some very special guests and a few fantastic surprises. You do not want to miss this. Tune into our live stream at 10 a.m. on Thursday so you can be a part of this with us. This was one of my favorite things last year. I'm so excited to be doing this again.
It just feels so good, and this book giveaway is so huge, but it's just a small part of what the program does. We are helping fund the Kern Literacy Council and their programs like this for the rest of the year.
So great.
Such an honor, absolutely. All right, so let's take a look at our weather outside because we had those showers from yesterday and overnight pushing out of the way. And I call them showers because in Bakersfield officially, it's just a trace before midnight and a trace after midnight. So both days go down in the history books as, yeah, something happened, but not measurable rain. However, there were other valley cities that got a couple hundredths out there. This latest system, you can see the curvature of the cold front here, is bringing more snow and rain showers, but mainly to the Pacific Northwest and far northern California. It's going to sweep over our area with some more clouds, some winds, 10 to 20% chance of showers, but it's looking fairly dry. You see those 50s here on the valley floor, 30s and 40s up in the mountains. And as for the breezes, it's about 5 to 15 miles per hour right now, starting to pick up. So you'll notice it's a breezy day in Bakersfield, but the kite flying weather, that's up in the mountains and especially down into the desert. They'll just full on rip your kite right off of its string with a wind advisory out there. Goes into effect at 3 p.m. this afternoon, carries on through tomorrow morning. We're talking about some 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts possible through the pass, over the mountain peaks, and down into the desert. Mojave, Jawbone Canyon, right there along the 14 tend to be the windiest because those winds come rushing down the mountains and then fan out over the desert. So you can see how blustery it is through tonight into tomorrow. And that's all just that system passing on by, taking its cold front, just kind of clipping us this far south. And then watch how this ridge of high pressure builds. So that leaves us pretty sunny and stable for the rest of the week. Just some high passing clouds, some 60s. Heading into your weekend, some mid 60s out there. That looks pretty nice. It's not quite 10 degrees above average. It's not record breaking for sure, but it is going to be remarkably pleasant each afternoon. Unfortunately, we have moderate air quality today. It's expected to get slightly worse heading into the end of the week because there's not a lot of fresh breezes coming. But Sunday into Monday, there's another system trying to head towards Central California. For Kern County, I'll call it about a 30% chance of showers, and I'll cool it down Monday as we clear out. So up in the mountains, that means the Kern River Valley also enjoys some 60s to end the week, 50s in Tehachapi and Fraser Park. And so then as that system comes in Sunday into Monday, it'll try and start the snow level about 7,000 feet, get it down to 5,000 feet by early Monday. That looks to be above pass level. And again, that's just temperatures. There could be a lot of moisture with this, or it could be too far to the north, and we'll just be kind of like, oh, okay, well, thanks for the cool down of the fresh air. We'll take it.
And a couple of days away, so you'll obviously be tracking that as we get closer. Yeah, all right, sounds good, Elena. Thank you. Thanks for joining us for this special digital edition of 23 ABC. Don't forget, you can always find the very latest on our free mobile and tablet app and our website, turn to23.com.